Yeah.
I was talking about there's a glare. It's like 10 minutes long.
I don't have much money in my foot. I had a wool in the sort of area and
early
pops in the hood for deer bones.
Yeah, like my wife would always sit there walking
That's all I have left.
like, it's not helpful, because I just think I have more time.
She's used to making like shams, games, and those guys. Now, like, I'm waiting for now.
Yeah.
So she makes one for me. I
I
was watching Jeopardy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go walk. No, it's acceptable.
Days for
I'm usually early.
I'm like, if I have to be somewhere at 5 to 5, I'm like, okay, time to go. And then I'm like, it's a 20-minute drive. Perfect.
I have a bunch of slides at home. Mermaid wool.
And get ready. They're like,
Shiro sheep that they have out on Nash Island. I go out there
Kristen
and
out
she
there in the morning. She was like, we are leaving the house in 10 minutes. Yeah, she's like, be in the car? Or tell me who's in the car.
$500 for
Oh, yeah.
Do you need any of yours?
No. Yeah, it's
Okay, is everyone getting seated? 1 minute. We're going to be getting started here. Brace yourself. We have when we get started, we have a guest who has a presenter who has a time thing. So hopefully we can move through our opening stuff quickly and then move her to the top. Okay, it's 6:30. We'll call the meeting to order. I think the confirmation of board member attendance is showing around, yes. I know many vouchers have come through today. I know we were waiting on a couple. Did we get our signatures that we needed?
Not sure. I know I sent out, I think I got, I saw responses from Swans Island. I didn't see any others.
Okay. I think we need one from Trenton maybe anyway. Keep checking your emails and making sure, especially during the summer whenever they're approving via DocuSign. Is there public comment?
So, hi there, Matthew Mayo, Music. I talked a little bit in the last meeting. I'll keep this one brief, as I know there's a lot of time that you need to fill with other presenters. But I wanted to finish some of the statements I was saying in that last meeting, and that was, I mentioned we had about 40-ish performances at the high school level this entire school year, and then trying to do the math, and it's pretty inaccurate because I didn't get to chat with my colleagues beforehand, but doing as much math as I could. We also had another 40 within our middle schools, if not most likely more. So we had about 80 to 100 performances across this island in this district this school year, which was awesome to see. One of the initiatives, kind of a different topic that I also wanted to just make the board aware of is myself and some of my colleagues, specifically at Pemmichek and Trenton, we are implementing this year actually music standardized testing for all our third graders to help us determine the best suitable instrument for every musician going into fourth grade. I did a lot of reading and research on how other schools have been implementing this, and we are very excited to have been piloting this year. So we just successfully did the rhythm and tonal tests for both those schools that I just mentioned. So we're excited to be able to send home letters to hopefully add to recruitment. We also see a high expectation of this being a way to also help differentiate instruction to our students. If they score higher on one part rather than another, we can either support them on where they were weaker, or the opposite, we can help flourishing on the other side, as well as we see a future of maybe adding in GT music utilizing this testing. So we're really excited to be implementing this, and it's a great way to kind of end off our school year as we get the third graders excited to join band next year. So just thought I'd give you a heads up on this thing that I'm excited about.
Thank you. Thank you for your monthly updates. I appreciate it. Any other public comment? Okay, approval of minutes of 11 May 2026. Oh yes, there was a public comment that came over email. So make sure that you pull up your email and get that, read that email. Is there a motion for approval of minutes of 11 May 2026?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we have our reports and updates, but we're gonna move the Green Schools Working Group to the top of the reports and updates list because Ruth Pullen is kind enough to come, but she has a time constraint.
just trying to get. So we're here to just give a quick update on what the Green Schools Working Group has been doing. I'm Ruth Poland, I teach science at the high school. And Mariah's gonna say something.
Yeah, I'm Mariah Simpson. I teach literacy at MDIRSS. Before I start, I just want to say publicly appreciate Ruth Poland and her tireless work across districts. I've been involved in a lot of committees, and she is very unique in that she is organized, but also has like really moved this work forward in a way that I think we can all feel really proud of. So it's really been a pleasure to work with you, Ruth. I'm delighted to be up here with you. So these are the things that we've worked on. First is the climate policy that was passed in September that you all helped with. A full working draft of the Sustainability Action Plan that was presented at the principals meeting in March. Also annual priority project setting with each principal. So Ruth actually went to every school and sat down with principals and members of the Green School Working Group and went through that particular school, what their projects were, and really like outlined what was going to be most important moving forward, which was a big dedication of time and effort. 3 state outreach presentations, so Sustainability Action Planning Workshop, Hancock County Planning Commission, and the Maine Science Teachers Association Conference, and those were all done by Ruth and your students as well.
Those were not students, but it was, 2 of those were in partnership with someone who's doing similar work in RSU1, which is in Bath.
And then some of the project outcomes, so there are 2 new eco teams. Connors Emerson has,
Oh, sorry, that stands for community, or competitive energy solutions. Yes.
maybe you should tell about this.
Yes, okay. So that's the new contract for electricity that the district has that Mike got going. So that kind of sets a foundation for possibly being able to purchase RECs to get a renewable energy credits so that we can get our electricity fully carbon neutral. And then we've also done the ASHRAE energy audit planning for all of the schools in the district. So there's currently one at the high school that's underway. We've had our kickoff meeting. I've been sending them all the utility bills, and they're having their site visit on June 16th. So we expect that to be finished in the fall before the budgeting season really gets underway. So we have like a plan that we can then figure out some funding for initial steps at least. And then many schools have had waste and compost improvements like recycling or implementing usable utensils just in their classroom. Lots of little projects at schools, but still nothing that's like kind of a comprehensive plan.
And then 2 grants, so you applied for the Community Action Grant last August and then received that and the funds just come in, and then just finished submitting another Community Action Grant. So that's very exciting. So the Community Action Grant that was received was to conduct in-depth energy audit at MDI High School and supporting the Green Schools Working Group. So that supported the ASHRAE Level 2 audit and energy roadmap for MDI High School that's currently underway. And also it provided funds for the Green Schools Working Group to pay Ruth for her time, and also
Student stipend. So each student, there's 3 seniors who are on the team, and they each get $500.
So the action plan that was drafted had 2 goals, carbon emissions and climate literacy. And from that planning process, came up with 5 strategies, thinking about the built environment, transportation, resources, green spaces, and education. So some of the things that were done that we're thinking about as next steps for action steps, developing an EV fleet transition plan, thinking about things like supporting bulk milk in the cafeteria, unifying the waste and compost strategies. So some schools have kind of their own things, and then some are contracting with Chickadee. So doing that as a district would be a great step. And then establish data on carbon sequestration so we can see if we're being successful.
Yeah, and so we have this full draft of the Sustainability Action Plan. We're still waiting, or not waiting, we're still planning to get some more feedback from principals especially, and it's just been like something that we've been trying to do and it just hasn't happened. So we're hoping to get that done this summer maybe, and have like a really solid plan to send to you all and hopefully to get that adopted. It will be a working document, so it's not like it's one and done and then like we have to do all the things in it. It's still something that is dynamic. And these are just examples of possible action steps that are in there, and they're organized by these five strategies. This is the second grant for the Community Action Grant that we just submitted on June 5th, and this is in partnership with the Town of Mount Desert and A Climate to Thrive. And so we requested like more than double the funds, but that the maximum you can request is $75,000 for one community. So we're like, let's request it. So we are requesting funds for all of our schools in the district to get these ASHRAE Level 2 energy audits and the roadmaps that go with them, which I think is the more valuable part. And I know many, I think there's 4 schools in the district who are getting an like an HVAC audit with BIMS, but this is like more than that. It's not just the HVAC, it's air sealing and insulation. It's providing like return on investment and possible plans, like projects that you could do to reduce your carbon emissions and like what those would actually look like, and kind of a roadmap to how you could plan those out. So that's the hope. We got estimates from two organizations who would do those to determine how much we would need for that. And we also, so in all of the meetings that I had with principals about priority projects for this year, we said, you know, we can't have projects that change anything about your budget. We know that's already set. So either things that don't have a budget impact or things you're already planning to do that align with the Sustainability Action Plan goals. But the one thing that I did hear in meeting with principals was Heather Dorr said that they really would love to have a heat pump for their greenhouse, which has a failing propane heater, and they use that as a classroom space. It provides food for their cafeteria. It provides a space for climate literacy programming. So it like fits so many of the things that this action grant is supposed to support. So we put in money for a heat pump and also some repairs for the greenhouse to be a more functional space, and then would hopefully also reduce their carbon footprint. And then the second task is A Climate to Thrive has a climate ambassadors curriculum that they've used in communities to help support awareness and understanding of like climate impacts, but also like solutions. And they are planning to develop a curriculum for the middle school classroom in partnership with a teacher. And so we're actually looking for a teacher to partner with, a middle school teacher, so they could adapt that curriculum to the middle school level, which would really support the climate literacy goals of the policy. So we just submitted that. We'll find out hopefully in August if we want it. I think it looks pretty good. We'll see. And this is for 2 years of work. So that first grant was just 1 year, and this we can spread out over 2 years. So next steps, you were all invited to an art party to celebrate kind of the sustainability work that's happening on the island. It's going to be at the Trenton Grange on June 30th from 3:30 to 5:30. And it's to create some artwork that we can stick to a float that will go in the July 4th parade. This is something that we started last year, and it's just to like gather all the folks who are doing work in different organizations. So like every town has a sustainability committee, there's a Climate to Thrive, there's the eco teams, the Green Schools Working Group, so they're all invited to kind of participate, just to like have fun together and let people know that we exist and that we're, working towards the same goals. I'm going to incorporate, so hopefully get feedback from principals, via surveys or maybe some, attending a meeting, and having a process that way, the sustainability action plan and finalizing that. And then I also need to finalize the drafts of the priority projects that we started to develop this summer. And in the fall, we'll start a new annual priority project process. So that's with each principal and the Green Schools Working Group liaison and anyone else that they think is important says okay, these are the 3 things that I want to get done this year that relate to the sustainability action plan. And we want to start that process so that it can inform the budget process, so that it's now early fall is that those meetings happen. We'll try to implement as many projects as we can. And I would love to get a communication plan going that is modeled after Resilient Bath. They have a sustainability coordinator who's doing really cool things with the prioritization process. So they have, a huge list of actions they want to get done. And they rate them according to 4 different attributes. And I think we'd probably swap one of these out for, or maybe add one for education, climate education. And then they have a really nice public communications platform where for each of those 5 branches of this strategic plan, they have a list of all their projects and they kind of show how many of them are in what stage of progress. So are they in the middle? Are they completed? Are they on hold? And then they also have really nice implementation plan or templates. So you can, aside from the building stuff that the ASHA level 2 audits and the energy roadmaps will help us with, all those other action steps we can really make a discrete plan for, figure out who should be involved, and then have those templates as resources for schools to implement projects as they come up. So this is a lot of work. I'm sure it will not be as nice as theirs, but I think it's an aspirational model, and the person who created this is happy to consult to help us modify so that we can do something similar. The Green Schools Working Group, I gave them a survey and people seemed to be happy with the process. It felt like we did a lot of groundwork. It felt like we're just getting started and people are excited to continue. We definitely want to focus on climate curricula, waste and building efficiency next year. And I think the biggest feedback that personally I felt and I think I got from people was that this feeling of being part of a community was really powerful. And this is just a short list of all of the other things that have happened in this district that I think are kind of ripple effects. And maybe individual teachers would have done these things. I'm sure that Tremont and Pematic students would have done these amazing audits. There's tons of stuff teachers do all the time. But for me, and I think for other teachers on the Green Schools Working Group, just it existing gave us that extra push to want to put in the effort to have a field trip to the Green School Symposium, or write a grant for an orchard, or take students to Hurricane Island, or do, start a new trash and show like Honors Emerson. So I do think there's a lot of really great kind of side benefits that aren't directly tied to the actions of the group. So this is my last slide. So eventually I would love for you all to adopt the Sustainability Action Plan. I'd happily send the current draft so you can look it over. It's very similar to the town climate action plans that you've probably seen before. And then just to keep the goals of our policy at the forefront of decision making, I want to have these regular presentations just to remind you that we have those goals and we're working on them. So yeah, and if we would love to have more board members and more staff and principals on the committee, so we'll send out those invites next year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You said for the climate curricula it needs to be a middle school teacher. Is there a specific grade that studies have shown is the best for laying the foundation for this?
I'm not aware of one. My understanding is that it's appropriate at every grade, but that looks different, of course, for a kindergartner versus a 4th grader. I'm not sure exactly what age group A Climate to Thrive is most interested in. I would guess like 6th grade-ish, but yeah, I think they're open to working with anyone who wants to.
So the ASHRAE audits, I knew you were talking about waiting or wanting to speak more with principals, but you're taking that audit report and that is theoretically like the master roadmap, is that?
Yeah.
And then
So the way that I see it is the Sustainability Action Plan covers all these different things like waste and transportation and education. The ASHRAE audits and the energy roadmap, that's just the built environment stuff. But it will, whatever we get from those audits, we will insert into the Sustainability Action Plan, which is like
and that will be prioritized for you or no?
that is my
what
hope.
you're
That
doing?
is yes. That is what we are asking them to do.
I only ask because I wonder if, if it's going to be a district-wide, like leveling up the same projects at the same time, which might be helpful to leverage, or if individual schools will choose, obviously they'll differ on the plans, but.
Yeah, those are great questions, and I assume they'll be prioritized by school, and then as a district we can see what commonalities there are and if there's like bulk purchasing opportunities, things like that. That's the hope. Yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you so much for coming. Keep us updated in the fall. Okay, so now we'll back up to the superintendent.
So this is the last update of the year, and I just want to start by thanking you all for your tireless efforts in supporting each of our schools in the district as we look to try to come together in many aspects of the AOS, up to and including reorganization. And this is something that we're continually working on, and I appreciate everybody's efforts. And so our district promise is interrupting educational inequities and creating schools where every child and staff member thrives one conversation at a time. Our June enrollment overall is 1,323, down from our total enrollment of our last month's enrollment of 1,328. Staffing, it's all over the place. We have needs in all of our schools. Some of these have come off as of today, and others are still there, but you can see that in terms of regular ed, we have a need of an ASL interpreter at the high school and an adult enrichment coordinator, though I know applications have come in. For specials, I know applications have come in for the social worker guidance counselor at Trenton, and librarian at Tremont, and we're still looking for world language for Swans and the part-time music on Swans. Speech and language pathologist, the 3 schools that need that, and we are continually looking for special education teachers at Mount Desert, Trenton, and some at Ellsworth, and then a series of teachers on Mount Desert, but some of those have applications in. And our ed techs, we are getting applications and continuing to run through those. Drivers, summer maintenance, all those are still in need. School highlights. One of the things I wanted to highlight is I was looking through some of the Chalk Talks and saw that Miss McLaughlin's World History class was comparing Acadia's carriage roads and bridges. including drainage systems, culverts, stone layers, arches, and concrete granite construction with Roman engineering, and they did some time there taking a look at those similarities. At the Longfellow School, Ari was one of 33 MDI students who was selected to receive a Future Aspirations Scholarship Award for her essay describing how she would like to become a teacher. At Connors Emerson, graduating seniors walked through the halls at Connors Emerson to cheering younger students, very heartwarming. At Trenton, they had their spring concert took place outside on the stage. It was a beautiful night for a concert, minus a few bugs, but it was a lovely event. And Pematic School, kind of mirroring what Ruth had said, at their school board meetings, 7th and 8th graders were doing explorations, a variety of projects, from electricity, how are we using it, how can we become more efficient, to our teens getting enough sleep, electronics used by students, and trace and waste and sustainability. And so you can see, there our students are engaging in these questions that our teachers are presenting to them. On Swans Island, 3 middle school students qualified for the Olmquist Invitational. We noticed at the board meeting, and Mimi had sort of talked about, it seems like, particularly this year and in past, they're really good runners at Swans, whether it's for cross country. They often have kids that are qualifying at the middle school level for different parts of those events. At Mount Desert Elementary, today was the middle school bike and hike day, which I had made 2 years in a row, but couldn't make it this year, maybe next year. And Tremont School, the Tremont 8th graders made a powerful presentation at UMO. Students share the work that they have been doing through the Maine Forest Collaborative in the areas of seaweed growing, seagrass restoration, and composting, and more. In terms of our school budgets, we have passed all of our budgets. Our last budget is Frenchboro, which is next week on the 17th. I get to fly solo, no Nancy this time, so I will be presenting the Frenchboro budget all on my own, but Nancy has set me up really well. I think I'll be able to take care of it. Some quick updates. The Science Symposium at the MDI Biolab, this was a creation from the Science Common Study, where the teachers have worked with students in grades 6 through 8 to share experiments that they were working on and then defend their conclusions amongst the group that was there. And it really sort of showcased what can happen when our groups of teachers have time to work together and produce these great learning opportunities for students. Our staff spotlight, big congratulations to Mike Brzezowski, who is the STEM teacher at Pematic. We're honored to recognize Mr. B as the Hancock County Teacher of the Year. He joins a great group of teachers from our district who share this honor. And then I highlighted Kate Meyer as the ELA Instructional Innovation Teacher here at the high school. And you were able to watch that PBS special. And that link from Learning in Maine is here, so if you want to watch it again. Retiring teachers and support staff, Linda Kane, the behavior coordinator at Mount Desert, who's been a SPED teacher in a variety of our schools and is leaving at the end of this year as the behavior coordinator for MDIRSS. Joanne Harriman, you all might recognize her name. She has been a teacher, a curriculum director, a superintendent, back to being a principal, and she's ending her career as a teacher and trying to find a way to sort of finish a career ending with students at the forefront. And Vivian Phillips, a world language teacher at Trenton and Swans, has split her time over this 2 school years to teach the love of Spanish to students. And Susan Geib, who's an ed tech at Connors Emerson, is also retiring. MDI reorganization. On Wednesday, we are presenting a modified version of how the RSU will pay for future large projects. It's sort of the final piece of our plan. And as soon as we sort of take a look at what would be the best choice, hopefully we'll vote on that. The team will finish up the plan, and then I will send all that out to boards so you have a sense to take a look at it over the summer before we adjourn. We come back together in August to really start pushing the plan for November vote. And it's really, the plan is the same other than how we deal with debt. And so that will be the sort of the highlight of the meeting on the 10th, and I'll share that out. And then our school board corner, really what I wanted to share is MSBA, Eric Waddell shared a piece on the use of social media by school boards. So I thought it would be really useful to share that with you all here. It is linked here, so if you have time to watch it, it really gives some useful information on how to deal with social media as a school board member. I'm also working on scheduling new school board member orientation sometime in July in the first couple of weeks. I've also asked Selena to see if I can have them come and do a school board chair, like a mini session with chairs as a reminder of your role and to give you some tools to use while you're a member. So look for that in the next couple of weeks for times for that session.
Your report isn't linked, so.
Yes, I'll be linking that after this. And that's my update.
Are there questions for Mike?
I changed the look of it a little bit because I felt it needed.
Okay, moving on to then the transportation update.
I just wanted to share, as Matt sort of alluded, in drawing it out on the computer, there was a way of gaining some time back. The next step is bus drivers are now sort of listing in who they have on their morning runs, and I'm gathering that. I hope to have all that by the end of this week. And then I give that to Warren, who will then take a look at that, because that might change, because we know that not every student rides a bus. And so we want to create sort of a happy medium so we know exactly how many buses are needed to run that. So having those lists from bus drivers will be really important. After we do that, I'll be inviting bus drivers to take a look at the routes that were created by the computer and see where there's fallacies from the AI model that the bus system that it uses for creating those routes. Are there things that were, no, you can't do that because of this, and to have that conversation. And so I think we're slowly moving towards, I don't expect to be ready for the start of next year, but potentially we'll be ready for the following year to have the change in the time, unless something changes in terms of how much I can get done over the summer. But that's sort of my expectation. So good news, but it's taking a little time.
So does that mean the high school's schedule wouldn't be changing this next year?
It's the schedule that Matt presented is the change for next year is that one, and we were waiting on how this process went. I don't think I'll have enough time to be able to then talk with drivers, educate parents about having, pre-K through 12 on buses and all of that ready for the start of, which he would then have to modify the schedule again to sort of meet that need. But I'm looking at it for 27, 28.
Can you clarify? So maybe Matt has to pop back in. I thought we were going to talk about that at the high school. is the schedule for this year, based on the fact that you can't make those changes until next year, is the schedule for next school year without flex time?
If we can't start at 8:30, yes.
Well, it sounds like we can't start at 8:30, so yes.
Yes.
Can I just ask a follow-up to that? I know, Matt, I brought this up before, and you said that would be a priority, but I'm just hoping that there is a priority communication and like support of making sure that without flex time, students are able to meet with teachers before school and after school during the hours of the contracted hours that folks are here. As we know, that time is used in various ways right now for different meetings or like professional development and things like that, which rightfully so makes not every one of those mornings and not every one of those afternoons available to students to meet with teachers. But I'm just asking again that that's something that we, at the district level, that we can put forth as a priority, that without that time, at the end of the day built into the school day, that there will be a support put forth so that it's happening in the morning and it's happening, those availabilities are happening in the afternoon. And I'd love to hear how that will happen too when we get to that point.
This might be for the high school meeting, but I think it would be great to have a report on in the new schedule. I'm disappointed we can't get the one bus situation happening by the fall, but I understand that's just the way it's go. But I mean the unified, whatever you want to call it, busing. But if about what concrete steps we can take to ensure that students who are using flex time really well, that we are creating another guaranteed avenue for them to be able to access what they were accessing through flex time. See, she's over there taking notes for her.
I'm not quite sure how to ask this, but I'll try. Do you anticipate that the conversation with bus drivers is going to be about basic logistical issues and not opinion?
Correct.
What is the main obstacle towards getting to the shift before the school year? Like you mentioned about like communicating to parents, or like what is it, logistical, or is it like communication and buy-in?
It's a little bit logistical. It's just having the time to be able to meet and flush out all the possibilities of the proposed route and to make sure it works, and then to test them out and make sure that they are the way the computer says they are. I'm not just going to jump in and because the computer says that this route works, it's going to take a little time to make sure that works. And the high school needed time to be able to make the change to their schedule in a way, because they had to have something before the end of the school year to have something in place, and I couldn't make that deadline with the work that I'm trying to do. And so it's logistical, and then it's planning.
It's about like the quality product.
Yeah, I don't want to rush something into.
Okay, I couldn't tell from before when you described it before too if there was this factor of like getting used to the idea in the community, which people are talking about getting used to. But I hear what you're saying in terms of like trying to deliver something that actually works. Are you, what zone are you in with your AI collaboration? Is it 6? Is this zone 6? I'm serious, actually.
Actually, I'm probably in probably 6.
I have a question and a comment, which is how can we in the board support ensuring that, like, working through these logistics is and working through whatever, I hear you saying most of it's logistical and not opinion piece issue, but how can we, be supportive on the public relations and whatever other aspects, or and maybe you don't can't answer that now, but
I would say that probably as you hear whether complaints or concerns from family members about having youngers and high school students on the same bus that you try to calm their fears, and that it might be actually a really good thing in terms of that process. That would be a really big thing in terms of having something that we're committed to trying to get ourselves together as a district and to provide more time for the high school, which we all know is a necessary piece.
I know I've mentioned it to you before, but as a board and working within our individual schools, anticipating concern for K through 12, we can help with whether it be a bus monitor or working with the PTSAs. There are opportunities to enlist the board in our collective schools, should that be something that helps move this forward.
Yeah, bus monitors might be something that might be helpful.
And collectively too, as people have offered suggestions throughout this year, if you want, in the absence of a Warren formally, a transportation committee helping over the summer to navigate some of these questions. So that it's not just you and AI hanging in zone 6.
I just wanted to clarify that we as a board asked for this to happen.
Correct.
So as far as like, because I too am concerned about the emotions of the change for the bus drivers, and I'm concerned about pushback we may get, but for them, the message is how, not, should. So that's another point of support. I feel like that, backing Mike to have this sort of conversation, which I know started and it's happening, but I also know that anecdotally we've heard about the pushback, and we're asking for this to happen in the best way for it to be done. So if that does take time, and I understand why, but
We have some new drivers, so we can start with that. That part of it being pre-K through 12, and I think that will.
Other questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to directors of teaching and learning.
Just over the summer, this spring, Julie and I have been planning the summer work. So we've been talking to teachers and collecting instructional grants and talking to principals about approving those. We've been prepping next week. We have our administrative team retreat on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we've been planning that. We're partnering with Kendra Rand to facilitate the portrait of an administrator, which we're very excited about. It's something that came up last year and another administrator retreat, and so we're finally getting to a point where we can do that work together as a team. We're going to be talking about group and organizational culture and about having difficult conversations, so some leadership support in that area. Those were all areas that have been identified by the team to work on. We've got the new teacher days coming up in August that we're prepping for, and then back to school August 27th day.
that's hyperlinked in the note.
Yeah.
So see the various projects we're leading. They're not surprises. We're going to, talk about the math curriculum review. We're going to be continuing with AI literacy training, early childhood education. It's all the same themes, and you can see us continuing to weave those through. So. Are there questions? Okay. Moving on to our discussion items, which are policies, EBD, temperature standards for schools, which is a response to a state law for those people who are wondering.
I just want to know what happened to prompt this being a policy.
And then public comment at school board.
So EBVD, basically we, after discussing at the policy meeting, had Scott do a little research, came to what the optimal temperature should be, would be 65 to 82 as your degree range for a school. But the policy recognizes that the age and manner of construction, if your school has really good HVAC, or some might have air conditioning and some may not, that may be difficult. And then it goes on to state that when temperature of a building as a whole exceeds the comfort zone by 87 degrees, then there's things that you could do to help cool it down, and those are sort of listed there. Then it also states that this does not preclude a building administrator from acting preemptively in anticipation of a rise in building temperatures that, to the point that requires action to be taken. And then on cold days, when temperatures hover near the minimum, schools are encouraged to incorporate more physical activity if you get below 65. And there's concern, or to ensure that students are coming with, their jackets and things like that if it gets too cold.
Bring your heated brick.
They have toe warmers and hand warmers available. So those are the numbers that we set. Doesn't mean we can't go back and change it, but after looking at the research that Scott had obtained, we feel sort of comfortable with that.
Is this? I'm sorry.
It was a state law.
Okay.
That's all I'm
saying. I just want to say that we live in Maine, so any temperature like 87 is like call school off and go to the beach. Like, no, we're not.
Yeah, no, that's a holiday.
Yeah. Yes.
Around here.
Are there other questions about this critical topic?
No, I don't. We talked about a policy that just said use common sense.
That's what I'm saying, but something horrible must have happened to some student.
It's a law. It was advocated for apparently by the Maine Teachers Association. That's what we were told. I get it in some places. It's probably gets pretty hot, and it may. We were told that the, part of the second floor here gets really hot.
I do have a comment about the maximum temperature. It says exceed the maximum comfort zone by 87 degrees. It sounds like 82 plus 87.
Be wrong.
Yeah, it's 100.
Good catch.
Not having school.
5
Maybe
degrees.
it's very cool.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that.
Now we have our next revision of public VEDH public comment is also prompted by some recent court decisions.
And so if you had a chance to read through that, one of the things that we had to change was the fact that in the public comment period, we had limited it to only residents and folks who work in the school. Now we can prioritize them first. and then at the end, we can have, if time allows, after the 30 minutes, you can have other individuals speak, but we had to have that. And then the other major change is the required use, or the refraining from indecent language, and kind of talking about indecent, the remark that is uttered before 10 o'clock and describes or depicts sexual or excretory activities or organs in a patently offensive manner as measured by the contemporary community standards, and then it defines what a C is. And then the school board chair, by their judgment, to identify when those measures, when those incidents have been reached, and whether they can stop someone from speaking. But it basically allows for people to. Yes.
You did say at the end, if time allows for certain people to speak at the end, so I mean that could be a flare-up moment for someone if they're not allowed to speak and they were promised maybe at the end they could, and now there's not time, so then all of a sudden.
Well, that's why we state, we would state, we had people here, we would go through the statement and say there's 30 minutes and then that's it. And so if everybody meets the people who are here, then yeah, it might, and it's up to the board chair to decide whether or not they want to grant more time or something.
I'm really curious about indecent remark is uttered before 10 p.m.
Well, that's
yes, go ahead.
That's pretty common. I mean, in terms of what you allow on television, it changes later, and it's always been that way. It's the presumption is that there will be younger children who should be in bed by 10 o'clock and not be listening to this sort of thing, not be watching it on this, or not whatever. So it's a little awkward, but unfortunately these are the times that we find ourselves in, and so the lawyers for municipal management are trying to craft something that has to be overly comprehensive, because there have been and will probably continue to be behavioral issues at board meetings. And so it's not the perfect, I mean, the definition of obscene is like something right out of a Supreme Court case. It's like I may not know it, but I may not be able to define it, but I know it when I hear it. I mean, that's kind of the fuzzy rubrics you're working with.
Sure.
You do the best you can.
So 10 p.m. is the standard for TV, but does it read any differently to not have a time limit? Is it?
Indecent. No, I think that they just sort of put that in there as a common rule of thumb where to sort of protect anybody before them.
Or if the board meeting goes really late,
Yeah,
you just
maybe we can
blow it
start
out.
later.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm just curious about it. Yeah.
There
All
are
meetings
court
now
ca-
start at 9:30.
There are
Hey,
court
Ellen.
cases that have said you can't stop people from behaving badly at meetings. And so, without going into the details of them, the effort is to try to be as clear as possible about what boards, because when boards aren't follow this stuff, boards have been paying money to some of these people and settling lawsuits. And so they're just trying to stay one step ahead of court decisions.
Sure.
Marie?
The paragraph 1 that talks about given equal amounts of time to speak during public comment, up to 3 minutes per speaker. And this is kind of piggybacking off from what Cliff said, but it sounds like to me that once you speak for your 3 minutes, you don't speak again. We routinely allow people to speak again. So we do. Yep. Yeah, I know at one of the last comments, we had a number of people that came back and had a second,
You mean in the second public comment period?
no.
Oh.
Maybe not routinely, but it piqued my interest when it happened, at least during one session. So I guess my question is that the intent of this, to say that you can only speak one time for 3 minutes? And if so, we need to reinforce that, I would say, or put that, or clarify that means you can't speak again. And does it mean at the second public comment period, because we have 2 and some places don't, does that mean that if you've spoken at the first one, can you then speak again at the second one? And if so, do we want to talk about that? Do we want to clarify that?
I'll sort of start with because at the end of one, it sort of puts the board chair as the sort of purveyor or discretion, so you could modify that rule if you need to. We could, in terms of the 3 minutes per speaker, and the time limits in this paragraph may be modified at a particular meeting at the discretion of the board chair. So that allows the chair to make some discretionary decisions. In terms of the second comment period, my guess is that's a new comment period, and the person who spoke at the first one can probably speak at the second one, and that might be something we want to talk about, whether or not we want to continue to have a second comment period.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I remember when we had not 1, and then we had 2, and then we had 1, and then we had 2. I personally like the second comment period in terms of like transparency and allowing people to hear a discussion and then create a comment based on that. So I'm not advocating for like making it smaller or whatever. I just want to clarify, if someone is speaking and they finish their 3 minutes, can they get I have been here when we've allowed them to add something to it after they're done or whatever. So I just want to, if we're going through this again, I feel like we should like make sure that we have an understanding of what this is, and if we want to spell that out or not spell that, or if the time limits in the paragraph may be modified at a particular meeting at the discretion of the board chair, that probably covers it. But I just want to call out that rule so that we are following it correctly ourselves and allowing or disallowing.
Make it more clear in the thing.
Yeah, and also when I'd like, excuse me, the blurb, it's probably on the agenda, where we had a blurb, like boilerplate language about it. I can't remember if it's
yeah, it's at the bottom of the.
Okay, so it's really tiny, but anyway, so that's been something I feel like has been really benefited reading. I know I read it at our school board meetings. It's been really helpful, especially, sometimes you have nobody for like 5 months and then you have like 7 people show up. And so it's important, and they've never spoken before, so they have no idea what to do. So I think that's helpful, and maybe it can be clarified there too.
Gail?
My sense of the time limits and the policy behind them is that we have a meeting to conduct. This is a meeting, this is not a public meeting in the sense it's like a public hearing with public input per se. It's a meeting held in public that people then have a right, and we want people to feel like they have a right to comment about aspects of our schools. So the 30 minutes is a way of setting boundaries so that we're going to be able to get to our work, and we're going to be able to actually do the meeting. So if you're in a situation where you've got a room full of people who want to talk about it, then you're really going to use that boundary, and you're going to say each person gets 3 minutes, and you probably need to have a timekeeper keeping track of that. If you've got a handful of people and you've used up 10, 15 minutes of public time, then it's perfectly reasonable to let people make further comments. But it's all about making sure that the board gets its business done. Ultimately, that's why these things are here. And within that, you can try to accommodate public interest and public thoughts as much as possible.
So we'll, in the next policy, we'll work on tightening up the language so that it's clear, so there's no perception of viewpoint discrimination, like it's clear what the parameter, who can speak for how, like in terms of whatever. I just would say in general, I think like I think all these court cases about public comment and whatever have taught me one thing, anyway, which is that in general, it is better to like whatever, to allow people to speak, to allow people to say, even if it's like you don't like what the person is, even when it's maybe offensive or whatever, and you're just listening to people. I think in general, I think board chairs and board members have gotten into trouble because it's hard to hear people say things that are hateful or unpleasant, or in particular when they are hateful and unpleasant and they get at a particular part of your community or even a particular people in your community that you know and love. But I think it's the lesson I have taken is most of these people, their power is taken away by just like let them say whatever things they want to say, and then let them have their 3 minutes and they say it and you move on. And I think that's a good discipline for us as like board members and chairs, is to like really practice on not being reactive, even when sometimes getting back to the tenor of public debate these days isn't always nice, and like I want to create a society where we speak to each other with more empathy and kindness, but also there's a time to just let people say what they want to say, and then that's part of the practice of democracy. So that doesn't so much get to the thing, but I think we want to keep our community safe and we want to keep it nice, but I think we have to balance that against also understanding that sometimes we'd be better off just letting the sun shine upon the situation and letting it pass. So anyway, we'll return with are there more comments? Okay, moving on to action items, which is the cell phones and other electronic devices in school. Hopefully, between the last time we were here, you've had a chance to peruse this policy.
There is the public, the written comment that was in the agenda is germane to this issue. And it's worth making sure everyone's had a chance to look at that. And it also essentially raises the question of how are the schools able to actually make sure, if we're in a situation where we are in state law, that it'll be bell to bell, no personal communication devices, is allowing students to still have them in their possession without requiring power down or that sort of thing, and being able to enforce it. How is that going to be effective in actually doing what the policy mandates? So that's how I read the question, and I don't know.
I don't know if the law said, well, it's listed at the top, prohibiting students' use of personal electronic devices for the duration of the school day from starting the dismissal bell. This policy must restrict student use of cellular phones and other personal electronic devices with internet or cellular network capabilities.
Right.
It doesn't say that that they have to be powered down. I think that's the decision of the administration to decide whether or not they want to have them powered down, turn them in, put them in a box when they walk into a classroom, or are they going to leave it to kids to put them in their backpacks and that's where they stay and they're powered off. They could ask for that. Or we're buying the pouches and they get the pouch, they put it in the pouch and they're unlocked at the end of the day. I think we're getting maybe $500 for the high school to implement this policy, that if we wanted to buy pouches, that's not going to cover the cost of that. So, I think the idea of the law is that we are to prohibit them, and how we decide to do that will be up to administration. Our elementary school or middle schools have a policy, and their cell phones are turned in, and that's how they do it. And we're allowing the folks here at the high school to decide how we want to have them manage that.
I'll move to approve JICJ.
Second. Any discussion?
It's 2 words. Maybe I'm just, it says prohibiting, and then down at the bottom it says restrict. So there's a lot of wiggle room in between prohibit and restrict. Restrict is not prohibiting.
Right.
Right.
So which is it? They're both in there.
That's our
It's our interpretation.
So they wrote that law. They wrote that law. Okay, just for that reason. Each town can do the work individually, I guess, within the parameters of those 2 paragraphs.
Other discussion?
Just catch it.
Mm-hmm. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Is there additional public comment? Any other business? Well, I have one thing I want to, we covered this a little bit at the high school meeting, but this is our comrade Susan Allen's final meeting, and we're doing it again because somehow she has served 15 years, which was much, maybe almost twice as long as any other person on on this board, being just a tireless advocate for kids and yeah, not twice as long as you, but most people, and always showing up, always putting in the work, joining the committee, doing the whatever called upon, rising to the challenge. So thank her, because this is her final meeting, which might not have been clear at the high school meeting when we were replacing the chair that this is her final meeting with us. So that's except for she can come in and have
yeah, you got 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Just
once. It's been a pleasure getting this school. My children are upset with me, which I find amazing. So the lesson is they don't want me home.
Right.
I know you're hating on to say more nice things about you, but I wanted to say that this meeting for everyone to hear. But I really have appreciated, like, you come to meet, you show what it looks like to come to a meeting prepared, come to a meeting to engage. You put your money where your mouth is. Anytime you make a motion, anytime you have a discussion, you know, if we could all only do those things every single meeting, and I think we'd all be better for that. So that has been, for me, like, watching and, you know, seeing you always do that in every meeting. Like, you don't take a break, you don't ever space out. Well, maybe space out a little bit, but, like, you know, you volunteered for, like, committees outside. You've really done your job as a board member and as a chair, and it's something that we hopefully continue to remember and be inspired by, and I just really have appreciated that.
And model.
You made me cry. Thanks a lot.
You can always run again later.
That's true. Starting from the best.
I just want to add that when I was considering joining, someone said, "You've got to talk to Susan Allen," and I reached out to you, and you were so ready to get on a call with me, and so authentic in just sharing things and without bias, and
encouraging gently, and just it really made me feel very positive about this kind of unknown that I was entering. And to kind of echo some of the things that have already been said, I often think of just how thoughtful you are with your words, and I almost want to say strategic, but that sounds like too calculated. I just think you're very, I just think you're very mindful with how you understand you're within the form you're in, and I think you really are so respectful to everyone being present here, and it really is very inspirational, and I definitely think of that as like something to reach for. So I appreciate all your positive influence. I'm a good recruiter.
Really good. Thank you all. You may see me on Monday night. I won't know what to do with myself, but I'll probably things.
You can show up and see how we're doing.
Yeah, right, sure.
Is there any other business? Okay, future agenda items. I know we'll have a transportation update.
Yes. Superintendent's report.
Yes.
All of our updates.
Regular updates. We'll come back with these policy second rounds in August. We will have opening of school items. Anything else? Our next meeting will be Monday, the 10th of August, and then we'll just roll around right before we know it. Probably at 6, but stay tuned for the time. Okay, is there a motion for executive session pursuant to MDIRSS AOS91?
So moved.